Welcome to Family Business Diaries, the podcast where we unravel the secrets of family businesses. I'm your host, Mary Asantia Samoa, and today our guest is engineer Nana Afua Sarpong, the management consultant at Belshaw Limited, a family business founded by her father over 40 years ago. Engineer Nana Afua Sarpong is the management consultant at Belshaw Limited, where she is responsible for managing the various departments from manufacturing to sales. Before joining the family business, she worked at Trasaco Estate Development Company as a civil engineer responsible for the planning and procurement coordination of projects such as the Phase 2 developments at Trasaco. She also worked at Northrop Grumman Corporation in the USA as a structural engineer. Nanefia is a project management professional and holds an MBA in management from the University of Maryland University College and a BSc in civil engineering from the University of Massachusetts Amherst. Nanefia, welcome to Family Business Diaries. It's so good to have you here.
Thank you, Mary. I'm very happy to be
I'm so
here.
excited. All right. So I want to start with your story from engineering to working in the family business. Tell us your story. Let's start from, right back from school. Tell us your story.
Okay. Growing up, I the family business was at home.
Okay.
My dad is an engineer. My brother is also an engineer. They're both chemical
Oh.
engineers. So after high school, when I was going to decide which major to do, I was a little bit torn. Initially, I had either I was going to do medicine or accounting. Like it was just all over the place for me. So when I gained admission to my university, I tried. I actually tried with pre-med,
Mm.
but and then I gained admission with computer engineering actually.
Oh, yeah,
And
shock.
then my first class, or my first class, I noticed that this wasn't what I really wanted. So my advisor at the time guided me in what kind of courses to take, but I still wanted to try the pre-med line
Mm-hmm.
because from the onset I said I wanted to own a hospital
Oh, wow.
with two of my friends. But that didn't really materialize because I noticed I didn't like biology. I didn't like a lot of reading, and math and physics and chemistry was something that was more interesting to me. But I ruled out chemical engineering because both my brother and my
Father.
father were chemical engineers, and I was like, I didn't want to toe the same line they were towing. So there were other disciplines. There were mechanical engineering, and from being from Ghana, mechanical engineering for some reason just
It
sounded like
sounds.
being like a fita. So I was like, this is not what I want to do.
Hey.
Yes, that's what I thought at the beginning. And then there was civil. I didn't know anything about civil at the time. So I took a course called Introduction to Civil, which I did pretty well. And then I decided to stick with civil engineering. In the process of school, I mean, growing up, I always liked to either sell something, manage something. So I decided to do a course in engineering management, which is the business side of
Mm.
engineering. Um, in my 4 years of college, at the end of the year, I noticed I wanted to go into more of construction or construction management. I didn't, because in engineering, there's both, there's a design and then there's construction part of it. So that's being actually on the field. Um, and then when I graduated, I had a job at Northrop Grumman, which is a defense contractor. So I was doing more of structural engineering. They do submarines and aircraft carriers.
Wow.
So that's what I was introduced to at the time. And then I decided, okay, since I still like management, I had done my engineering management. I wanted to do something in business, and I like business. I mean,
Cash.
I just like, yeah, the cash part. So I did an MBA and focused in management.
Okay.
At the time when I was doing the MBA, my case studies that I was using was Belshaw, which was my dad's business. So I decided, because that was the only, I would say, business that I was introduced to or that I knew, because you had to take some case studies and analyze whatever concepts or principles in the business management courses.
Mm.
So I used to talk to my dad a lot about, what I've learned in school, and I'll call him and then I ask him, "Is what I learned. Are you doing this? Are you doing that? Are you doing that?" And then he used to say, "Oh, all these book long things that you're talking about," because of course it's a little different from
When you're, yeah.
working and then going to school. And after that, I just got to a point and I said I wanted to move back home.
Just like that.
Yeah, just like that. I was like 2 years after graduating, working at Northrop Grumman. Then I decided that I wanted to move back home, not with a solid plan, but I just knew I wanted to come
Mm.
home. So when I came home, I had a discussion with him that I wanted to join Belshaw. He didn't like the idea from the beginning
He
because
didn't?
no, because he said I'm a civil engineer and Belshaw is mainly chemical
Yeah.
engineering stuff. So it's totally different from what I studied in school, and he would rather I develop what I studied in school. So I joined and I'm like, okay, I really like real estate as well. I like building, I like stuff like that. So I joined Trasaco at the
Oh,
time.
okay.
I worked with Trasaco for about 2 years as well. And then I went back to him and I'm like, I want to work with you. Because first of all, Trasaco is also a
A
family
family business,
business, you
yeah.
know? So I saw that, okay, it's a family business. This is going well. They're
They're making
doing
it work.
well. Why can't I also contribute to what actually paid my tuition in school,
Yeah.
which is Belshaw?
That's nice of you.
So I went back to him and I said, I want to, first of all, even coming back to Ghana was an issue. And then he agreed that, okay, fine. Now you're here. You're like, you come to work for me. He's like, okay, yes. I mean, the business is not as, at the level that I was expecting it to be. But if you insist on joining, so there was a trade off. I said, okay, I'll join, but I'm not going to let my civil engineering go.
Mm.
So I joined him for a year without pay.
Hey,
I had to
prove yourself.
I had to let him understand that it's something that I wanted to contribute to. So when I joined and I started understanding the business, as I said, the business started at home.
Yeah.
So where we grew up, that's where the factory was. When I was growing up, the factory was at our backyard. So you could see everybody there. By the time that I joined, he had moved it to the industrial area, got in a place where he had actually built a factory.
Awesome.
So that's how I joined my dad, and we've been working since.
Wow. But basically, your father bounced you the first time.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Hey,
Yes, he did.
now I want to talk to your dad. I mean, I really want to get into his head and understand why he made those decisions. But
Yes.
all right. So what was the adjustment like? I mean, you decided from being outside that you wanted to move home.
Yeah.
And then you wanted to work with your father. Just being outside and thinking of these things, not outside as in being out of the country, but just being out of the business and imagine, oh, I want to work with my father and I want to work with the business and make sure I help out. It's one thing. And then when you get in there, it's a different matter altogether,
Yes.
right? So what was it like adjusting to, working in the family business? Because now daddy's boss, basically.
Yes. And it's not fun when your dad is the boss and it's your dad.
Yep.
It's not an easy thing. Not to say fun, but it's not an easy thing. So when I joined, I think like most family businesses, most of the people actually saw me grow. Some of them used to pick me up from school. So they were like, okay, she's back and she's going to be our boss. Like, how does that
Excuse
even
me. Yeah.
how does that even work? And most of them sometimes, of course, are men. And then because of the factory hands, they're men. And then we have some managers that are also women as well. I came in with a lot of, expectations, a lot of energy. And somebody advised me. So I decided to understand the business, not necessarily from the managerial point of view,
Mhm.
but also the production and then the marketing. So I started with marketing. I decided to
Okay.
sell the products that we were doing. So Belshaw is a manufacturing company that does detergents, disinfectants, and degreasers. So I started selling, visiting companies to introduce the products that we have so I could understand it. And therefore, if I sent someone out there, I would know how to guide the person. The surprising thing, this is even off a little bit, but the surprising thing that I noticed when I was trying to sell these products to people were there was this notion that when you give a sample to someone to try and they place an order, usually most of the time the sample is different from what you have
Yeah.
supplied. And it baffled me like so first I
bring your
felt like
best.
yeah, okay, that's not gonna happen. So I learned some of the tricks in what people do,
Yeah.
how it's done, and trying to manage the grown-ups in the business, in terms of communication. There was sometimes that was a little, difficult. I might have stepped on some toes that, they'll report to my
Oh,
dad,
they
and then,
report
oh
you.
yeah, 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 they'll say something to him, and then he'll call me and I'll try to explain to him like this
The
is
reason.
the reason why, and this is why this happened this way. And then he'll, explain from the Ghanaian,
Yeah.
way of
How
doing,
you should go
yeah,
about it.
go about certain things. And then the other workforce. So what I try to do differently was to bring in a lot of fresh blood. So I try to do a program with, especially national service,
Mm-hmm.
where you can start in from national service. But then I had the opportunity to choose the people that I wanted. So
Oh,
what I
okay.
did was I sent letters to the universities for them to give me people to do an internship, and then with the possibility of rolling over to
To
national
national
service
service.
once they're,
Nice
okay.
strategy.
So that started off, quite well. There was still some, I noticed I had to go also in the teaching mode
Mm.
because they were, students that had come
Yeah.
right out of school and therefore they needed to be exposed to certain things. So gradually we are working now. We've changed a little bit in terms of the workforce.
Mm-hmm.
We're still putting in some strategies. It's not as easy as, it should be, especially in a kind of business that we are in. The barrier to entry is really, really low. So there are a lot of things that you have to learn
Yeah.
the ground. And I would say I was really, really tested during, no, there was ones that my dad traveled because he's not, it was okay for me to join at a point. There was a time that he traveled with my mom and my dad. They're both directors of the business. And then I was left alone and I was managing, I was doing everything. So I asked myself, okay, so
This is it.
if you were not, if I wasn't here, what would have happened? And I think maybe that was also the turning point for him, that, okay, even though she's not, the chemical
Yeah.
engineering, I really don't want her to lose the civil engineering, the management part. I can just, still let her do what she has to do. So it's been okay. It's still a little bit challenging, not for the family business itself, but the environment.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. And I would say I was talking about the challenge that I had. That was during COVID.
Hmm.
So, COVID time, the challenge was more of when we were having, companies were going
Shutting down
down,
and all.
demands were happening because we're sanitation and cleaning products. That was the time that
Your
most people
markets.
needed,
Yes.
our product. And we had done the sanitizer at the time on paper, but we hadn't brought out the sanitizer. Like, it's something that had gone on in our product development. So when the time came, now we had to bring,
Like this is it.
sanitizer out. Now you're testing how ready you are. You have done this on, on paper. And what
Paper.
I kept telling people is business school never prepares you for
No, no, no.
some of these
This is the
things.
real
You
world.
always,
Yeah.
now you can't even strategize for to last a year. Almost every
Things change.
month
Yeah.
you have to re-strategize.
Yep.
And it's a good test of, your managerial skills and constantly learning and
Mm-hmm.
making sure that you can run a business.
But you did it, right?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. We did. It was a good time also for us because that's when people got to know that we had other products besides sanitizers.
Awesome.
So COVID, yes, was not good for some people, but
But
for
you guys, you cashed
manufacturing
in.
detergents and stuff, it was a good opportunity for us to contribute and serve Ghana.
I'm glad you were able to step up to the challenge. So well done. Well
Thank
done.
you.
All right. So you mentioned that your mom and dad are both directors. Like, do you work with other family members? What's the setup?
Okay, so we are three.
Okay.
I mentioned my brother is a chemical engineer. My brother
Right.
doesn't live here, so my
Okay.
brother's outside in the US. And my sister just came. She came to Ghana about 3 years ago. She used to work. She's a lawyer,
Okay.
so she helps us with the the
The
corporate
legal
side
side
of
of things.
things. She used to do that, but she got a new position. So I still consult
Yeah,
them.
smiling means it's a good position. So we're happy.
she, I still consult with them when I have challenges because as I said, my brother is the technical
Yeah.
person more than I am. But on the team, I have a good, technical team. At least that's what we've tried to do, and that's what my dad did. Because he used to do all the formulations and stuff, but then we have someone that is
Okay.
taking care of all of that. So in terms of involving my brother and my sister, they are mainly more aware of most of the things that happens. I update them, but
Okay.
so
But
that's
you're the main
yeah, main
baby
main
on.
person.
All right, cool. That's fine. I So I want to go back. I know we talked challenges and you kind of said, apart from your dad,
Mm.
not sure if you wanted you in there, in terms of the workforce, these people had seen you in your school uniform and stuff. So it was very difficult to, kind of work with them or be accepted. And you also mentioned the strategy where you put it lightly. You said, I just needed fresh blood, but I believe it's a key strategy for you.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it was a way of, let me find my own people and groom them. Like, I just want you to talk more about that. That when you came, what were the challenges you encountered? With the setup, with how the business was running, and
Okay, so when I came in, yes, even though it's a manufacturing plant, my dad, most of the things centered around him.
mm,
You know, they didn't have a lot of systems, in place. If he travels, he kind of travels with the business, that
yeah,
kind of thing. So what he did was he said, "Okay, I'm gonna step back, and then you guys will, basically run it in terms of even having come up with ideas, come up with
yeah,
what he kept on saying is that for the business to grow, you need to have new products, you need to increase your sales because, well, let me say he's done what he can do in terms of
yeah,
the markets that he has been able to acquire. So we continuously challenge ourselves, the management team, which is currently now more of a young team
your
now.
people.
Yes, my people. More of a young team now. We put in systems. I mean, something as basic as maybe a form for requisition, requesting for
Yeah,
something, even a procurement process. All of that is
yes,
what I try to put into structure,
mm-hmm.
you know, everything in accounting, having at least a payment voucher, trying to let him separate his, bank
That's
account from the
yeah,
company's bank account, his email from the company's email. Like everything is just, kind of, mixed up. And at least he was cooperative about it. And he understood that, okay, the book long girl has come.
and it's offering good stuff. So
So it's
that's
trying to help it. But I noticed, yes, that um school strategies and on the ground, the street knowledge is totally different.
oh yeah,
It's a total different, ball game, which I think was good for me to start from behind before getting to
yeah,
where I am now.
awesome. What else do you wish you had learned? Maybe okay, so this strategy is for what you did when you joined, like by starting from the ground up or from marketing and stuff. But what else do you wish you had learned before joining the family business altogether?
Hmm. Um, Business in general, I would say learning how to, especially raising financial support, finances for the business.
Hmm,
It's something that is not, it's not easy. It's not readily available. Even if it's readily available, the terms, the conditions are totally, crazy.
yeah,
So leveraging on networks and also trying to understand the concept and understand how manufacturing businesses are, set up. So currently what I do is I have a mentor
okay,
in manufacturing that have done much better than I'm doing now. So I
okay,
reached out to him that, okay, you're doing well. I want to learn, more. How are you doing this? There's no way for me. There's no need for me to make the mistakes.
yeah,
And then, so I think from the beginning, maybe before joining, I should have probably done that as well. looked
Okay.
for somebody else in the industry, not necessarily in the detergent industry,
Yeah.
but maybe in the manufacturing space, in a larger space that really understands,
Yeah.
the dynamics of manufacturing, and also getting your product to the end user. That's another ball game altogether. I mean, producing and getting the product to the shelf of, the supermarkets and stuff is totally different. So I would say that's what I'm correcting now.
Okay.
So at least I have like monthly meetings with this mentor that I
Mentor.
have identified, and it's going well for me. And of course, I run stuff also by my dad, and because I really want to like impress and
You
make
have to
sure
prove
that
it.
I'm doing well, I'll try as much as possible to show and then deliver.
Yeah.
So I still he's and sometimes, you try, you're like, you've done this. And then I present it to him, and then you give a different angle. I'm
I'm
like,
like, oh,
why didn't I think of this? But I think I look at it more as, okay, he's a resource.
yeah.
Yes.
Full of wisdom.
And
Tap
that's
into
what
it.
I should tap into. And my mom as well. I mean, when the business started, she would say, when my dad is coming up with products, they'll try it on her and everything. So
Yeah.
she knows that, understanding, and she also has, business sense. So I talk to them most of the time just to make sure that I don't make too many mistakes.
That's good. I like the fact that, he's still around. You can tap into that wisdom.
Yeah.
That's needed. Sometimes you shouldn't be like, I know it all, so please stay
Yeah. I
away.
tried,
That's
but I noticed that's not gonna work.
oh, you actually tried, sister. No. All right. So I'm just curious. The
hmm
civil engineering,
hmm
are we still using it?
Yes.
Oh, you are.
Yes. So I am in construction. I can't let it go. I told you I
You
like
made
real
a
estate.
promise.
Yes, so it's still there.
Oh, that's good. Are there other things, other activities you're involved in apart from the fam? Do you have your own business, or are you just focused on?
So I do have my own business, which I said, the real estate
Okay, okay.
and construction. So I build for people. I have a partner as
Hey,
well. So he's an architect and I'm the
please,
engineer.
I
And
need
we
a
do,
house.
I'll do it for you. And as I said, I like business. So I
Yeah,
try to get into other things to have multiple sources of income. COVID taught us that we need to have multiple sources of
necessary.
income. And another thing that I do that is even coming up this year as well is I have a foundation that I create awareness about preeclampsia, which is
Oh,
pregnancy-induced
yeah.
hypertension, because I'm a victim of it. So I decided to create awareness
God bless you for
about
that.
the condition. And so I like to stay busy. So when I notice that things are slow, I try to find something else to do.
No, we we love that. Thank you so much. All right. So, in your view, what critical support do you think family businesses need, right? To thrive. I think you mentioned the finance bit as one of the issues, but what are some of the critical things that you think family businesses in Ghana need to thrive?
I think that sometimes you tend to notice that family businesses, if they are small or a little bit, let's say medium scale, don't necessarily have the right structure in terms of having a board or having an advisory,
Hmm.
board, for lack of a better word. I think it's necessary for us to do something like that. I've even suggested that to my dad, that let's see how we can get, an actual, I mean, there is a board, but then have more people,
External.
external
Yeah.
people with expertise, with a network, which is also very necessary on
Yeah.
the board, that can, help us structure the business well, not necessarily just structure, but then help also grow the business, have a formal, because most of the time when you're going for funding, some of
Hmm.
these are some of the things that they look
Yes.
at. How is your corporate structure like? Who
And
else
it
is there?
doesn't
Is it
exist.
is it just a one man business? Are you gonna run
Yeah.
away with the money? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So once all those things are put in place, I believe that more financial institutions will be willing to help. And also, if you get to a point where, in my case like this, where I'm not like a technical person,
Person.
and you notice that you have to get,
The right.
assistance. There's a lot of consultants, a whole lot of consultants that are willing to, come
Yeah.
in, help you out, make sure that you're doing it the right way, so that at least we can have thriving businesses, so
Hmm.
we don't have just businesses dying after the founders are no more. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Okay. So over 40 years of Belshaw. What's your plan to continue the legacy?
Oh, that. Okay. So what I mentioned earlier that the barrier to entry for the industry that we are in is quite low because in any women empowerment or youth empowerment, they're teaching them how to make liquid soap, they're teaching them how to make
Yeah.
Parazone. Sometimes people care about labeling, sometimes people don't care about packaging. And then we have a lot of imports too in the system. So you're always struggling with making sure that you have a certain quality, but then at a certain price. It's
Yes.
tough with these people sometimes,
Maintaining the
especially
balance.
when you go into the markets. Some of the products that are in the markets they don't advertise. But when it's made in Ghana, you're coming with, oh, you haven't seen this on TV
Yeah.
before. You haven't. So there's a lot of demand on you or pressure on you to make sure that things are done. So one thing that we noticed was that we are positioning one of the positions that we are trying to do, the strategies is to go into contract manufacturing, which is
Okay.
more of white label. So instead of you going to China to do your liquid soap, we can have a Mary liquid soap done for you.
That's
And
great.
so instead of China or Turkey, let's do the local manufacturing and everything, here with the support of course, we've spoken to some banks who like the idea. So we have a few that have expressed interest that we've tried working on for them. We have a very vibrant product development and team,
Okay.
and our chemist and everybody's up to par. So in terms of positioning the business now, which I think it's a good market for us to tap into. In addition to that, basically just coming up with also new, products, eco-friendly products, because that's where the world is moving to.
Exactly. Sustainability.
Sustainability. So that's another thing that we are currently working on.
You're adapting to the times.
Yes.
Perfect. Perfect. All right. So speaking of time, if you could go back in time,
hmm
I mean, career, going outside, working in the family business, all of that. Well, what would you change? Would you change anything and what would it be?
Oh, okay. So when I came back, there's something that challenged me. When I was coming back to Ghana, my friends in the US were like, "Oh, you're not gonna last. You're gonna come back." That alone was like, okay, I have to
Prove
prove a
myself.
point. When I came to Ghana, my dad said, "Okay, you can have one foot here and one foot there. If you've made up your mind that you want to be here, you have to make up your mind that you want to be here. You have to stay." So I missed the challenge. There were days that I cried. I'm like, why did I? Because I
What?
was broke.
Why I know salary?
Because I was broke. And then because I was broke, I was like, I was making so much money and I've come
Yeah.
here and I wasn't even used to the whole 1 month salary thing because it's bi-weekly. Every 2 weeks you have a paycheck.
It
So you come here,
hurts.
by the time the month and it's ending, the money's finished.
Yep.
So it was it was an adjustment for me at the time. And then I got to a point I'm like, I don't have any other option. This is where, I want to be.
Be.
The only thing that I feel I should have done, which I'm trying to do now, is to leverage the opportunities that are there
Mm-hmm.
to see how to be beneficial to me here. And especially the network that I made over there. Because when I came,
Yes.
I kind of distanced myself from almost everything that I had built over there, because I was like, I'm
Yeah.
coming here
Focused.
and that thing. But I think that I should have done that and it would have been more beneficial to me. But it's not too late.
Mm.
So I'm still working on it. I'm trying to, reconnect with, my friends, my classmates, and then trying to look for other opportunities there that I can use to, benefit what the things that I do here.
Okay. So the way you're determined, I have to ask, how do you maintain work-life balance? Because right now you seem like a woman on a mission. I must prove myself. So just to end things, I'm just curious.
Okay.
Personal life,
Um.
balancing work and
So, I don't feel guilty using help. I would say that's where sometimes the challenge is because you're away most of the time, and
mm-hmm.
if you're not, careful, there's an inner voice trying to say, okay, why are you leaving your kids? Why are you leaving home? You not
Yeah.
have enough time for maybe your husband or But as much as possible, I try the days that I have that I don't have a lot of work to do, I make sure that it counts.
Mm-hmm.
And I make sure that I've outsourced some of the things. I'm not trying to be,
And making your money
superwoman.
work for you.
Yeah, the money is working and it's not cheap. So so I try,
Yeah.
And my husband is also very, we are supportive of each other. He's also very busy. And I'll also give it to my mom. My
That's
mom
it.
has been very, very, very. Sometimes she says she's the mother and I'm the grandma, but at least my kids,
They're in good
they
hands.
they're good. They know me,
Yeah.
so I try to. They're very young. It's 5 and 3,
Okay.
but for some reason I try to explain to them what I'm doing. I don't know if they understand, but hopefully they will understand it later on. So I try. It's not easy, but
You try.
gosh, no, yeah.
Would you want your kids working in the family business?
If they choose to, yes. But the interesting thing lately, I've been thinking about, okay, yes, family business, you're growing. But when I look at the other side, people doing like sports, people doing like music, it's
Hey,
like they
you're
get
looking at the
really, you know what I mean? So I'm like, maybe if you have one, it's not bad. You know what I mean? Like if
yeah.
there's one that some tennis pro or something, it would
You need the cash.
you
You
need the
need
cash,
you
but
need
they'll still be introduced to the various things that I do. When I
Yeah.
go to site to for inspection, I take my daughter, I put on a hard hat on her, I take a picture, and blah, blah, blah. I introduce her to
Yeah.
stuff like that. And the interesting thing is the cartoons that they watch. Sometimes they see some of these things, so when they go on site, they
They
can
get
relate, and
excited.
But these young, kids, they have
A mind of their own.
yeah. So I'm open if they want to join, that would be
Mm.
great. If not,
So then how we maintain that legacy for Belshaw? I mean, you're open to having external people take over.
yeah.
I mean, but keep the shares in the family, or
Yes.
what's the plan?
So we are open to have, yes, external people bring in. If people are coming in, of course, it's more of investment as well,
Mm-hmm.
and therefore taking a part of the business. But there will
Yeah.
still always be a certain portion that is left for the business. You can get also to a point where you can have like management agreements with people to manage the business to a certain level, do profit sharing. So these are all things that we actually still, considering, because I'm on the market looking for some capital injection. As I said, the
We
banks
are
are
looking
not
for
too.
capital. Please
Yes.
take notes. Thank you.
Yeah. So
All right. No, I really enjoyed your story. And I think the main thing is for, like, I feel like you had that passion. Like you were determined, I want to work for the family business. And so regardless of what people were saying, I mean, even with your own dad, you had to convince him, you had to, push for this. So I really like that. Now to conclude, what advice would you give to next gens, people who want to take over family businesses, from their predecessors? What advice would you give to next gens?
they should be willing to learn. That's one thing that I'm noticing about some of the younger generation. I'm not that old, but you know what I mean. We should be willing to learn. I know their world is really really fast,
Mm-hmm.
but there are some steps that you can skip.
Or you come back.
Yeah, there's some
Yeah.
steps you can skip, and as much as possible, they should also be open. And because they have everything at their fingertips in terms of resources,
Yeah.
they should use everything. You know, the world is now really 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 open. It's not just limited here in terms of maybe the products that you're selling. If those products are more acceptable in other service, extend it. You can try to have your footprint here, but there are companies here that are set up here, but
Mm-hmm.
most of their customers are from outside, mainly
That's
because
true.
of the kind of service that they're
Offering,
offering. So that's what I mean by, if it's not necessarily
working,
working in terms of the market that you have, because that's what we're trying to do now.
broaden your horizon.
Trying to get export more. We do some exports, but for some kind of chemicals. But for the other ones, the user the home products and stuff, we are looking at exporting to other countries, because here is a little bit saturated, as I
It
was saying.
is. Yeah.
So you have to look outside, you know. For us, we have all these French speaking countries. We don't speak French.
Oh, really? You
I
don't?
don't speak
Should we
French.
should we switch to
No,
French right now?
please. I tried. The only French that I did was for to pass my BEC, and
And
that's
then
it.
it's gone.
It's gone. So, that means that if you're trying to enter that market, it means you have to attract certain people
Yeah.
to be able to, help you. So you have to know what you're
Yes.
doing and not be willing to get the right people so you
Hmm.
don't make certain, mistakes, but
Mistakes.
still going through certain steps.
Learn, dream big, get help
Oh
when
yeah.
necessary. Awesome, awesome. This has been a very good conversation. My civil engineer turned manufacturing guru. Thank you so much for sharing your story, Nanefia. I'm positive that our audience has really taken lessons from this. And yeah, thanks for helping make Ghana a better place. To our audience, many thanks for joining us on this episode of Family Business Diaries. We release new episodes monthly, and you can follow us on all podcast streaming platforms, as well as the Family Business Diaries YouTube channel. Follow us on social media at Family Business Diaries for behind the scenes actions. Thank you. See you on the next episode.